Been such a busy man, he's late getting here to the studios, ladies and gentlemen. University of Athletic Director Mike Alden. Mike, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Again, as you said, just a little bit late.
Well,
but,
you're busy. You know, you have SEC championship games you have to go to. You have undefeated volleyball teams you got to deal with. So we understand you're quite busy. Congratulations on what has to be a thrilling time here at Mizzou.
You know, really, thank you for saying that. It really is. I know our fans are so excited. Our students are. You know, all the folks associated with Mizzou are as well too. It's just been an exciting fall. You know, and now into the winter, it's been really exciting to see so many things going on. Whether it's football or volleyball, what's going on with basketball or wrestling or whatever that may be. It's an exciting time.
I met you shortly after you first hired an unknown coach from Toledo named Gary Pinkel.
Yeah.
And as a graduate of the University of Nebraska, I used to go to Mizzou games when it was a Nebraska home game. And this year down at Faurot Field, talk about a transformation of what has transpired down there. Nothing short of amazing.
You know, and thanks for saying that. I think it's interesting. When I first came to Mizzou in 1998, I do remember one of our first home football games against Nebraska at our place.
Right.
And when you went into Faurot Field, it seats, let's say, 70,000, and you looked literally, there were 25 to 30,000 Nebraska fans in there. I thought, man, what do we have to do to be? Well, you got to promote, market, you got to win, you got to do different things like that. But it's been just exciting to be able to see our fan response and to be able to see how, you know, the Tigers are doing such a great job as far as fan base supporting at home, but also on the road. You know, where we saw them really show up and force it. Nashville against Vanderbilt, at Georgia this year, when we were playing at Ole Miss, we were playing at Kentucky, at Indiana. We had some great crowds on the road too. But you're right. I mean, it's great to be able to see a sea of black and gold and not see the sea of the opposing team.
And Texas A&M was what a great game that was. You win the SEC East, and the stands flood out onto the field. That's some pretty neat video.
Flood out on the field, and then they just had a press release come out of the SEC right before I walked in, saying that we were subjected now to the SEC fine for the fans rushing the field. But you know what? The spoils of success on that, I guess, which I think was so exciting to see our fan base do that. And I know that our kids were excited and all the students and everybody out there to be able to see that because it was such a big win. You know, you go to 11-1 there. You win the SEC East. It puts you in a great opportunity to play for the SEC championship. But it was great to see our fans respond that way.
The transfer or the change, the growth to the SEC, a lot of people were hesitant. A lot of people were worried. A lot of people said, can Mizzou step up? Can they step up both with facilities and fundraising? And then on the field, year two, I think you're doing all right for yourself.
I do think we're really kind of making good progress towards that. I don't think there's any question that when we first announced that we were going to the SEC, we were very public about this. And we said that it's a minimum of a 30-month just orientation process. And the orientation process doesn't mean you're there, that you've arrived. It just means you kind of know where you're going.
Right,
what's going on in the new neighborhood. And through that first year, certainly there was a lot of adjustments, whether it had to do with travel, whether it had to do with the competition you were playing against, whether it had to do with recruiting, whatever that may be. But at the same time, you know, our donors, our fan base really kind of stepped up in year one, and they continue to do in year two, which now we're seeing some of the fruits of those labors and some of those seeds that we planted 18 months ago to 2 years ago that are starting to at least germinate a little bit and kind of grow. And that's exciting because I think that you see the building that's taking place at Faurot, you know, what we're doing on construction, on tennis, on baseball, on golf, on softball, all these different types of things that we have that going. Our fan base is really turning out as far as buying tickets and going to the games. Our donors are stepping up. And really, you know, our programs are too. The success that they've seen in the SEC and beyond, I'm really proud of them.
Are the other athletic directors looking at you like you're the new one on the block, or have they embraced you, or how's that going?
You know, it's been really an unbelievably welcoming environment. The SEC, first of all, I got to tell you, it starts with the leadership, and that's Mike Slive. I mean, he's as good as there is in sport. And I'm not talking college sport. I'm talking sports. So Roger Goodell or David Stern or all these people that are out there, Mike Slive is right up there with the best of them. And so I think it starts with him. And when you have an organization like the SEC where everybody kind of looks at each other as equals and have an opportunity really to be part of the same team and in the same grouping, they were very welcoming. And again, I think it starts with Slive, and then it goes through all the athletic directors and the CEOs. But they've been great to us. They've been great to Texas A&M, and we felt like part of the team from the get-go, and they've made us feel that way.
Yeah. Any more talk about not Missouri, but any more talk about conference realignment, or has that died down now? Or
I think that you're seeing a little bit of a lull right now. I don't want to say it's gone away. I think it's quiet because I do think that people are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with this new NCAA governance.
Right.
And I think that when they see that take place, which I do think we'll see that take place sometime around August of 2014, then there may be just another little flurry of interest in that. What I mean by that is with the NCAA governance, folks are going to recognize that there has got to be some autonomy for some decision making that takes place primarily through the 5 conferences that you see really that are in a higher echelon right now, which would be the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. So I think when that kind of plays out a little bit, and you'll see that take place probably in August of 2014, then you're going to take a look at other institutions that are saying, now, wait a minute here. Okay, if we're going to see some autonomy with some of these groups, is there an opportunity maybe to be able to try to gravitate towards some of that area where there is some autonomy? And I think when you see that take place, that'll probably be maybe a little bit more movement. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But it may not be for several years.
We always talk about the big conferences, the major conferences, but NCAA tournament time comes around, and these quote-unquote no-name schools come up, and they play just as well against all these schools that are on every Saturday and every Sunday.
And I think that the whole plan here is that you're going to see all 351 institutions of Division I athletics have the exact same access, the exact same opportunities, because you do. You want Wichita State, or you want Seton Hall, or you want whoever that is to be absolutely part of the equation. And that's what's so special about NCAA athletics and so special about college sport, is that everybody has an opportunity to be able to compete for those championships. So I think that autonomy isn't that they're going to be separate from everybody else. It's just that they're going to have some opportunities to make some decisions that really are more effective in our financial state.
Mike Alden with us, athletic director for the University of Missouri. Just sort of a state of the state here while you're getting ready for the bragging rights game. We'll get to that bragging rights game here in a second. How much jockeying went on to send Missouri to the Cotton Bowl? Did you do anything, or was it just left to the bowl game committee? How did that work?
Again, the SEC has a pretty, I think, very solid way of which they develop their bowl relationships they have with their folks. So this is the last year that we have our current bowl agreements, because next year everything changes with the college football playoff. But I think that as you look at that, there also is some relationships that's been built with some of those bowls, whether it's the Capital One Bowl or the Outback Bowl or the Cotton Bowl, whatever that may be. And I know when those things take place, that those bowls have an opportunity to express to the league, hey, we have an interest in Missouri, or we have an interest in South Carolina, or whatever that may be. And the league kind of tries to match those things up. So I think with the Dallas Metroplex area, knowing that we have a tremendous alumni base there, knowing that we have an easy way for our fans from Missouri to get to Dallas, and knowing that we had a lot of success there when we were there before, I think a lot of those relationships and previous opportunities there kind of played into it.
It's also a fertile recruiting ground, and it's great to show off the program, the fans, and the players down there, that what Missouri can actually do for those high school players.
Well, Texas has been a huge recruiting base for us, and as we continue to expand our recruiting base, you have to maintain your footprint within the state of Texas. And so in doing that, Coach Pinkel and his staff have done such a great job. But when you're playing a game there, it's great. We have over 20 kids on our football team that are from the state of Texas, and there's a lot of identification there. There's a lot of identity, and the Cotton Bowl is as good as there is out there right now, and it's going to be a great thing for us from a recruiting standpoint, too.
Gary Pinkel has done such a great job, and every time there's a job opening somewhere, his name sort of floats up. Every time a Mac Brown retires, steps down, every time, do you call him and say, hey, how you doing? You want to go to lunch? Everything all right over there?
I don't know. We do that quite a bit anyhow, but no, I think the thing is with Gary, no different than a lot of coaches, right, nationally, but and also at Mizzou. But when you have coaches that are doing such a good job, I mean, the way he's graduating our kids and how they're representing themselves off the field, how they represent the institution, people stand up and they take notice of that.
Right.
But I think that Gary has made it pretty clear that he's committed to Mizzou. Mizzou's committed to him. It kind of goes both ways, that he's building something pretty special here at the university. But no, when you see those things take place, you want to make sure that you have that good, solid relationship.
You know, but the NCAA football coaches, they used to be the Barry Switzers, the Tom Osborns, the Joe Paternos. They used to go, find a place, build a place, and then stay there for 20, 30 years. You know, now Nick Saban's talking about going somewhere else, or Gundy's talking about. So I mean, those long-term coaching connections to the schools don't last, and that's where once now that the program's built, now he can really take it to the next level.
I think you're right, and I think that in itself says something pretty special about Gary Pinkel.
Right.
Now, really, I mean, if you look at exactly what you were saying right there, and you see all of this stuff around the country, but you have a guy that is absolutely loyal to an institution, committed to a fan base, committed to a program, committed to a university. That's you don't see that as much anymore in college sport, and that's something I think that certainly we take a lot of pride in. That our head football coach Gary has done such a great job and done it at Mizzou for 13 years, and hopefully he's going to do it for a lot longer.
What was the biggest surprise going into the SEC, good or bad?
Oh, I would think probably the intensity of competition. There's no question when we were in the Big 12, when you're playing at Texas, you're playing at Oklahoma, or they're coming to our place, there's a lot of intensity there.
Sure.
But it's a different level when you're in the SEC. When you go to Georgia and you go to South Carolina, you go to Florida, and you go to those places, I mean, just it's part of their culture. You know, it's part of the lifeblood of what they do. And their focus on sport is so important in that area. That's something to me that until you can experience it, you can't really understand it. And it was surprising to me that. But I don't think it was things like facilities or whatever that may be. I think all of those are very good in the Big 12. They're very good in the SEC. But it was probably just the focus and the importance of sport in the SEC.
Any talk about playing a Kansas football game, a Nebraska football game, maybe some of those old Big 8 rivalries?
Well, with the University of Kansas, we've said that many times that we'd love to be able to renew that rivalry series, and they said they don't want to, and that's fine. So they kind of know where we're at, and we've moved on from that. Right. So as we move on from that, I think as you take a look at those relationships that we have with the folks at Nebraska and the relationships we have with the folks at Kansas State or at Oklahoma State. Here we're going to play them in the Cotton Bowl.
Right.
I think that over the course of some time, if you can see some junctures where there's some opportunities, you want to try to take advantage of that. And I think a lot of people are open to that.
I'm so old. I went to school when they used to call it the old Big 8. That's how old I am.
That's not too old, though.
Well,
there's a lot of people that remember that.
Last thoughts, Mike Alden, the thoughts on the bragging rights game tomorrow.
Well, it's a special event. I mean, this event itself, where it was localized when it first started, over 30 years ago,
right.
It's a national event now, and so it's going to be special. I think that Coach Gross is doing a great job over at Illinois, and he's got a heck of a team, and Frank has done a great job here at Mizzou, and I think our guys understand the intensity of the rivalry. They know what they're walking into. 22,000, it's going to be split half Illinois, half Mizzou, and it's just such a special environment. And I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow. I think that guys are going to get up and down the court. It's going to be tight, and it's going to be exciting. And hopefully at the end of the day, the Tigers come out on top.
Coaches get all the credit, all the blame, but not a lot of credit goes to the athletic director, Mike Alden. We've watched you work your magic down there through some tough times and through some good times. You've done a remarkable job when it's all said and done. So
I appreciate you saying that. Rocky and I and Jake, that's my son, we love Mizzou. I mean, we love the institution. We were so fortunate and blessed 16 years ago when Dr. Wallace, asked me to be part of the team at Mizzou. And it is funny. It's 16 years now I've been at Mizzou, and it's part of who we are. It's part of our fabric, and we really care about it. And I appreciate you saying that, because you're right. Times are not always great. They're not always bad. They kind of go up and down. But certainly we have a great fan base, and it's a great place to work.
That's Mike Alden, University of Missouri Athletic Director. We should mention, in terms of full disclosure, we are proud to be the voice of the Missouri Tigers here on the Big 550 KTRS. Have a safe travels. Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we'll see you next year.
You got it. Thank you so much for having me.
9:33 here, Big 550 KTRS.